Welcome back to the second half of Lecture 11, Venerables. Hope you are refreshed. So let's go on. In the first half, we've covered conceptual understanding, physical factor, the aggregate of form, mental factors, the aggregates of feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness, the 5 aggregates and the 3 universal characteristics, and the 5 aggregates and Buddhadhamma. We started with the 5 aggregates and Buddhadhamma. All right. So from the first 2 paragraphs, then we had gone on to take a look at Abhidhamma in terms of the first 3 books, right? As you can see in this chart, Dhamma Sangani Vibhanga Dhatu Kata, in which Dhammas have 5 roles, yeah? Define Dhammas, ascertain relationship between Dhammas, analyze Dhammas, classify Dhammas, and arrange Dhammas in numerical order. And then we've said that the Abhidhamma uses technical language to express ultimate, supramundane, absolute truth. So let us now look into this in greater details. Well, we're on page 5 of lecture 11 notes. If you are with us, if not, just listen to the PowerPoint slides and then you can review the lecture notes after that. Well, the Theravada Abhidhamma contains a list of 82 classes of dhammas. All possible experience can be analyzed down into events, each one of which will be an instance of one or other of the 82 classes of dhammas. Each class of dhamma has its own specific characteristic by which an occurrence of that dhamma is recognized. For example, the dhamma of solidity has physical resistance as its characteristic. So here what we're saying is that, okay, remember the 5 aggregates? Earlier on we have analyzed personal experience, yeah, a personality or so-called self in terms of the 5 aggregates. And in the Abhidhamma, the Theravada Abhidhamma, it goes further. Instead of just analyzing experience into 5 aggregates, it breaks down the 5 aggregates into 82 classes of dhammas. Okay, so this is what we're going to look at. Then we say that each class of dhamma has its own specific characteristics. For instance, when we talk about the dhamma of solidity, right? Its physical resistance, its physical characteristic is resistance. So what we mean by when we talk about solidity, for instance, right, Rupa, we talk about the earth element. We're talking about it being in terms of heart of soft, right? Heart of soft is in terms of resistance. How much you can resist. The more you can resist, then the harder it is. The less you can resist, then the softer it is. So every dhamma has its own characteristic. Okay, so look at this picture, a manual Abhidhamma. That's a Theravada Abhidhamma written by Venerable Narada Thera. And then, of course, Abhidhamma, as we have said in an earlier lecture, was presented in the heavens, yeah, as a teaching in appreciation for the Buddha's mother, as well as to the other heavenly gods. Okay, so let us take a look at how these 82 classes of dhammas can be further understood and explained. Now, out of these 82 classes of dhammas, 81 are said to be conditioned, yeah, samkata, the direct result of causes, and one type, right? One class, nibbana, is unconditioned. A samkata, being unconditioned, it will never cease. So with 82 classes of dhammas, 81 are basically found in the samsara world, right? The world of the cycle of birth, rebirth, and death. And then one class of dhamma is associated with nibbana. So nibbana, as we have said earlier, is unconditioned, and then samsara, our mundane world, is conditioned. Okay, so 82 classes of dhamma, 81 associated with the conditioned world of samsara, yeah, and then one class of Dhamma associated with Nibbana, the unconditioned. Then how? So here you can see, right, this picture on the left with the Buddha, Nama and Rupa, right? Then up methodology in the Abhidhamma, breaking down into 82 classes as we are investigating now. The Buddha, of course, is in Nibbana, right? So represent the unconditioned, one class. And then on the right, the picture of this one representation of samsara, the world of rebirth and death, 6 major realms here. So the human realm, hungry ghosts, hell, animals, Ashura, right? Translated here as Titan world or demons. And then heavens to represent all the gods. Okay, so now let us take a look at how the 81 classes of conditioned Dhamma in this samsara realm further divided. Now, these 81 classes of conditioned Dhammas fall into 3 categories. First is consciousness, citta. Second is mental states or associates, or known as cetasikas, chaitasikas, chaita. And then the third is material or physical form, rupa. All right, take a look at this chart. Reality according to Abhidhamma. So at the top, we have conditioned reality, Sankhata Dhamma, that's 81 classes. And then unconditioned realities, Asankhata Dhamma, that's 1 class, right? And then we have conventional realities and ultimate realities. So conventional realities make use of conventional concepts. Yeah, speaking about conventional truth, like name of a person, phenomenal person, or being, thing, person, or being itself. And then ultimate realities are Paramatta Dhamma, and it speaks about ultimate truth, Paramatta Satya. So now this is what we are looking at. Yeah, so Nama is mind, mentality, mental, psychic phenomena, and then Rupa, matter or body or corporeality, material, physical phenomena. So 5 aggregates, we have Nama of 4 aggregates and Rupa 1. So now Abhidhamma, we are breaking it down further, right? Under Nama, we have Chitta, consciousness, further broken into 89 modes or 121 modes, depending on which framework we use. And then for Cetasika, 52 kinds, right? 52 classes of mental factors, mental states, or mental qualities. And then for Rupas, we have 28 Rupas, 4 great elements, 5 sense organs, sense objects, etc., etc. All right, so let us take a look at this further. Now, for consciousness, it consists of 1 class of dhammas with 89 or 121 modes or types, depending on which framework we use. Let's consider the 89 modes first, all right? So, of the 89 modes, 81 are varieties of mundane consciousness found in the 3 realms as follow. Okay, so here look at Chitta, 89, right? Let's focus on 89 first, consciousness. Now let us see how we can break it down further. Now out of this, right, 81 are mundane consciousness found in the 3 realms. So out of the 89 modes, 81 are found here within these 31 planes of existence. Now 54 types are found in the sensuous realm. So sensuous realm, look at this chart, it refers to the sensual planes of existence, right? Representing 6 Deva realms or 6 realms of the gods, 1 human realm, and then 1 realm each of demons, hungry ghosts, animals, hell. So altogether, 4 plus 1 plus 6, 11 realms. Yeah? So 54 types of 54 types of consciousness are found in this realm. And out of this 54, 12 have active unwholesome karmic potential being conditioned by the 3 poisons of greed, hatred, and delusion. Yeah, unwholesomeness, of course, all boils down to, all can be traced to the 3 defilements, basic root defilements of greed, hatred, and delusion. So there are 12 with active unwholesome karmic potential. And then we have 24 with active wholesome karmic potential, and they're conditioned by the 3 virtues of non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion. So the opposites of the 3 poisons. So 24. And then we have 18 that are passive. Yeah, 18 have passive factors, being resultant or reactive. Yeah, 15 are so-called resultant or reactive factors, and they're the consequence of karmically active, wholesome or unwholesome factors. And then there are 3 that are functional or inactive factors, 3 meaning, and these 3 functional inactive means no karmic potential, and the consequence of karmically active wholesome or unwholesome factors, such as the action of enlightened ones or deeds of neutral karmic content. Okay, so what we are saying here is that out of these 54 modes of consciousness in these sensuous realms, 12 basically unwholesome, 24 wholesome, 18 and passive, 15 are the consequence, right? The fruits of whether wholesome or unwholesome potential, and then 3 are either no karmic potential, they have no karmic potential, and they represent the consequence of neutral karmic content. Neutral karmic content. That's why no karmic potential. Also no karmic potential because they are the action of enlightened ones. As we know, right, the noble ones, whenever they perform any action, there are no karma because they are beyond self. Yeah, they have realized the 3 universal characteristics. Okay, so this is how we break down the 54 types for the sensuous realm. Then we have 15 types for the form realm. So for the form realm, that refers to the jhana realms, right? Now the jhana realms, as we have studied before, they are we can either classify them into 4 jhanas or 5 jhanas. All right, according to the 5 factors of jhana. So look at this table with 4 jhanas and with 5 jhanas. Now in the Theravada Abhidhamma, they make use of 5 jhanas. Okay, so there are 15 types for this form realm, and then 5 kinds of jhana which are karmically active and wholesome, and they arise from the 5 factors of jhana: initial application of thought, vitakka; sustained application of thought, vichara; joy, piti; happiness, sukha; and one-pointedness of mind, chitta ekagrata, yeah, or chitta ekagata. So 5 kinds of jhana. Then with 5 resultant or reactive consequences of the 5 kinds of jhana, rebirth in the form realm. So for instance, if we do a lot of meditation in the first jhana, right, while we are alive, when we are reborn, we experience the fruit, the resultant, the reactive consequence, which is being reborn in the first jhana. So if it's second jhana, then second jhana, third, correspondingly fourth, fifth, respectively. Yeah. And then 5 are functional or inactive because they are the actions of enlightened ones. Now the enlightened ones, they can also perform jhanas, right? But their jhanas have no karmic consequence, yeah, because they have already realized the 3 marks of existence of impermanence, self, suffering, and not self. Okay? So from here, then let us take a look at the next one, the 12 types for the formless realm. Okay, so let me repeat again. 15 types for the form realm. There are 5 kinds of jhana, that's 5. And then 5 fruits of jhana, right? Represented by the 5 resultant or reactive consequences. And then the 5 functional or inactive jhanas arising from the action of enlightened ones. Okay, so we've covered the sensual realm, 54 types, the form realms, right? That's where we talk about the 5 jhanas, and that's 15 types. Now let us take a look at the formless realm, 12 types. So the formless realm, we have 4 factors which are karmically active and wholesome. And these are the factors of infinite space, right? Look at this chart, infinite space. They are the factors of infinite consciousness, of nothingness, of neither perception nor non-perception. All right, so 4, the 12 types, 4 belongs to this 4 kinds. And then 4 other resultant, the reactive consequences, the fruits, that is rebirth in the formless realms. So for instance, if in this lifetime we do a lot of meditation of infinite space, right? Then when we are reborn, then we'll be reborn in the formless realm of infinite space. So that's the resultant reactive consequence or the fruit of our meditation. Yeah, and then remember when the Buddha studied from his 2 teachers, one reached the realm of nothingness, another reached the realm of neither perception nor non-perception. And then we have another 4 functional or inactive types, which represent the action of enlightened ones. So advanced meditate, so the noble ones, right? Of course, they can also meditate in the formless realms, and when they do this kind of meditation, there are no karma attached to it, yeah, because they are already enlightened, yeah, they realized non-self. Okay, so out of the 81 varieties of mundane consciousness, we repeat, 54 are found in the sensual planes of existence, 15 are found in the form planes of existence, that means the jhana realms, and then 12 are found in the formless planes. All right, so quite easy, yeah, not so difficult. And then we have another 8, right? 81 are found in these 31 planes of existence. Another 8 found in Nibbana, in the supramundane. Now, out of these 8 modes of consciousness for the supramundane, 4 active or path factors correspond to the 4 stages of the noble ones. So we have already discussed this in the previous lecture. The 4 stages of the noble ones are stream attainer, sotapanna, once returner, sakadagami, non-returner, anagami, and arahat, right? As you can see here. Okay, stream attainer, once returner, non-returner, arahat. So this represents the 4 active factors. And then the fruits, yeah, the resultant, the reactive consequences represent the other 4 types. Okay, so these are the consequences, fruits of the above 4 stages of the noble ones: stream enterer, once returner, non-returner, arahat. All right, so that's why we have 8, 4 for the active path corresponding to these 4 stages, and then another 4, their fruits. Now we've said that there are, for one class of dhammas, consciousness, one framework is 89 modes, another framework is 121 modes. So if we use the 121 modes, the only difference is that for the supramundane, instead of 8 modes, there are 40 modes for the supramundane. Why 40? These are the above 8 supramundane factors, each combined with each of the 5 kinds of jhana. So for the so that adds up to 20 active factors, right? Remember, with the 4 stages of the noble ones, so stream enterer, once returner, non-returner, arahant, and each one can also do the 5 jhanas. So we have 4 times 5. This equals to 20 active factors. And then their consequences, their fruits, will be correspondingly 20 resultant or reactive factors. Yeah, so 20 plus 20 equals 40. So in the framework of 121 modes, instead of 8 modes for the supramundane, we have 40 for the supramundane. All right, so not so difficult, isn't it? Yeah. So we have covered then consciousness, one class of dharmas with 89 modes or 121 modes. Now, don't worry so much if you are still a little bit confused about Abhidhamma, because as I've said before, in your third semester, there'll be one whole course on Abhidhamma. So I'm just introducing you this to see the relationship between the 5 aggregates and Abhidhamma, to let you have a taste of what Abhidhamma is all about. Now, let us then move on to mental states or mental associates. Remember, out of the 81 classes of conditioned dharmas, one class is consciousness, citta, which we have already discussed. Now we're going to look at mental states or associates. That's the cetasika, right? Take a look at this chart here. Under cetasika in the middle, right, we see 52 classes of dharmas, mental factors or mental states or mental qualities. We can translate them as such. Now, so mental states or mental associates or factors or states or qualities, yeah, consists of 52 classes of dharmas. And what are mental states? Mental states are those factors which are associated with consciousness, with the first class, which arise and perish with consciousness, and which have the same object and basis as consciousness. So we can think in terms of the analogy of skeleton and flesh. The types of consciousness are the skeleton. That means what we have talked about earlier on, right? The 89 or 100 or 21 modes of consciousness are the skeleton, while the mental states are the flesh that builds up a body of conscious experience. Now remember, when we talk about the 5 aggregates, in order for us to have personal experience, the 5 aggregates must always come together, right? Body and then the 4 mental aggregates. So what we're saying here is that the consciousness and the mental states here must also come together, right? So the consciousness represents skeleton, the mental states can be represented as the flesh. So together they make up a body of conscious experience. Now, out of this 52 classes of dharmas of the mental states, 25 are wholesome, such as faith, mindfulness, compassion, appreciative joy, and wisdom, right? So since we have wholesome types of consciousness, we must also have wholesome mental states. So there's 25 which are wholesome, and then 14 are unwholesome, such as delusion, greed, hatred, sloth and torpor, and doubt. Yeah, sloth and torpor, basically laziness, right, and idleness. So again, since we have unwholesome consciousness, we must also have unwholesome mental states. And then 13 are morally neutral or unspecified, and occurrences gain their moral coloring from the other dharmas that occur along with them. So there are 13 types that are morally neutral. So if these are associated with wholesome, they become wholesome. If these are associated with unwholesome, they become unwholesome. Now, out of this 13, 7 are common or universal to all mental occasions. And these 7 are contact, feeling, perception, volition, concentration or one-pointedness, attention, and vitality or mental life. When we talk about vitality or mental life, we're talking about the force that binds together the other 6 aspects of contact, feeling, perception, volition, concentration, and attention. All right. So what we're saying that in order for experience to occur, we must at least have all these 7 mental states happening. Yeah. Now, earlier on we said five aggregates must all happen together, right, in order for us to break in to have an experience. So in the Abhidhamma, we must have at least 7 of this, right, not just 5. So contact, yeah, contact is represented by let's say the sense organ, the object and the consciousness, then feeling, perception, volition, right? That's found in the 5 aggregates as well. Okay, so the first 4 are all found in the 5 aggregates, and then the Abhidhamma breaks it down further into concentration, attention, and vitality. So these 3 must also be around in order for us to have a personal experience. Can? So this is quite easy as well. So out of 52 classes of dharmas in the mental states, 25 are wholesome, 14 are unwholesome, 13 are morally neutral or unspecified, and out of these 13, 7 are common or universal to all mental occasions, and these are contact, feeling, perception, volition, concentration, attention, and vitality. Okay, not so difficult, isn't it? Then let us take a look at material form, right? Material form or rupa consists of 28 classes of dharmas. So 4 other basic elements, Mahabhutani, earth, water, fire, and wind. We have already spoken about this in the first half of our lecture. Earth representing solidity, right? Or hardness or softness. Water representing fluidity. Fire representing heat, warmth, and wind representing motion, like our breath. And then 24 are derivatives, upadaya, rupa. So we earlier on we spoke about the 5 sense organs and their 5 corresponding objects. So that's 10. What about the other 14? Okay, the other 14 consists of this 2 dimensions of sexuality. So masculinity represent 1, femininity represent another one. That means male or female, right? Then we have vitality, we have nourishment, we have space, we have 2 forms of communication, bodily communication and verbal communication. We have lightness, softness, and adaptability, and the 4 characteristics of production, duration, destruction, and impermanence. So altogether, this adds up to 24 derivatives. Okay, so for material form, rupa, out of 28 classes of dharmas, 4 are basic elements, 24 are derivatives. So in this chart here, under rupa, we can see 28 rupas, right? 4 great elements, 5 sense organs, sense objects, etc., etc. All right, so objects for samatha meditation, the conventional reality, ultimate realities are objects for vipassana or insight meditation. And during insight meditation, our goal is to experience, realize the 3 universal characteristics of anicca, dukkha, anatta. And then under unconditioned reality, nibbana, okay, we have also already talked about this, object in the enlightenment, magga and phala, right? Characteristic, anatta. Magga is the active path, phala is the fruit or the resultant, the reactive consequence. And then of course we have 2 kinds of nibbana, kilesa nibbana and khanda nibbana, right? So one nirvana while the 5 aggregates are around, and then the second kind just before we die, right? Or pari nibbana, when the 5 aggregates are no longer around. Okay, so let us have a quick summary. Yeah, this is a book on Abhidhamma studies, one of the most profound and lucid interpreters of Buddhist psychology in our time, right? Edited and introduced by Bhikkhu Bodhi, written by Venerable Nyanaponika Thera. All right, so you see a chart of Abhidhamma here, written in Vietnamese, but not to worry, we just look at the numbers and we will understand. Okay, so on the left, look at Chitta. Okay, the first number is 54, right? We have 54 types for the sensuous realms. Then we have, you look at within 54, we have 12 unwholesome, 24 wholesome, and then 18, yeah, passive factors. So next, below 54, we have 15, right? These are 15 types for the form realm. And then below that, we have 12 types for the formless realm. And then below that, we have 40 types for the supramundane. So the 40 types here, as we said, it represents the 4 stages of the noble ones times the 5 jhanas, that's 20 active, plus their fruits, right? Another 20. So we have 40. Then under Cetasika, there are 52, right? So we have the first number here, 13, which represents the morally neutral or unspecified. Then next we have 14, which represents the unwholesome. And then we have 25, representing the wholesome. And then at the right bottom, we have Rupa, right? That's the material form, 28 classes. So we have the first row, 4, right? Representing the basic elements. And then the next few rows, 24, representing the derivatives. And then we have the one realm of Nibbana. So altogether, this covers the 82 classes of dharmas presented in the Theravada Abhidhamma. 81 types are conditioned and 1 Nibbana is unconditioned. Okay, good. Let us move on. Now, besides analyzing our mind and mental experiences into the 82 classes of dharmas, the Abhidhamma also uses a method of synthesis or relation to explain how these dharmas link up causally and relate to each other in order to provide us with the actual world of lived experience. Here, it refines the doctrine of interdependent origination of 12 links by showing how the basic patterns condition each other in a web of complex ways. This task is carried out in the 7th and probably latest book, the 6th-volume Patthana, Conditioned Relations, which goes into great detail on how particular dharmas or the 12 links of interdependent origination are interrelated by one or more of 24 kinds or 24 modes of conditional relationships. So basically what we're saying here, that on the simpler manner, we talk about the 5 aggregates, as we can see here, form and mind, consisting of feeling, perception, volition, consciousness, and then this breaks down, right? This 5 aggregates breaks down into these 5 aggregates are the breakdown of what we call a personal experience or a so-called self. Now this combined together with the cycle of dependent origination, the 12 links, as you can see on the right chart here, tells us how these 5 aggregates are combined for each so-called individual coming to different patterns, and that tells us that whether we are human or an animal or what. So these two are important, right? One, in terms of analysis, breaking down into the 5 aggregates, and then another, linking up with causation, right? With causes and conditions to explain how everything comes together. So in the Abhidhamma, it does this too, right? Instead of the 5 aggregates, it breaks down into 82 classes of dharmas, and then in terms of causes and conditions, it explains not just the 12 links of dependent origination, but the Abhidhamma also has another 24 kinds of conditional relationships. So in the Abhidhamma, these 12 links of dependent origination and another 24 kinds of conditional relationships explain in more complex terms the causes and conditions. So 82 classes of dharmas, the analysis and the synthesis of these 12 links of dependent origination and 24 kinds of conditional relationships altogether gives us a more complex explanation, right? More comprehensive understanding of how things are. Okay. Now, while texts have sometimes been seen as dry and scholastic, it is a spiritual psychology with a very practical purpose. Through its methods of analysis and synthesis of relations, it gives a detailed knowledge of the working of the mind, and thus can guide a person in meditative development when we're doing meditation. It also facilitates the proper understanding of personality as an interaction of impermanent suffering and not self factors in relation to the laws of causality or conditionality in terms of causes and conditions. No? And we call this emptiness, right? What is emptiness? Emptiness means there's no permanent substantial self, but everything is a matter of causes and conditions. So in some ways, Abhidhamma is like a detailed, careful analysis of the subtle nature of music, musical notes, their relationships, and how they may be combined. We thus have a very fluid and open view of reality in which experience, saturated by suffering, can be dynamically transformed into experience free from all suffering. So here's a book, Abhidhamma in Daily Life, written by Ashin, the Venerable Ashin Jana Kabivamsa. You can see his photo on the right. Yeah? Abhidhamma in Daily Life, the principle of physical and mental processes. So Abhidhamma is useful in our daily life, in meditation, because they can help us to identify, right, wholesome, unwholesome factors, and then to transform them into wholesome factors, and then ultimately realize the three universal characteristics of impermanence, suffering, and not self. Okay, so it's like music. So the 82 classes of Dharma are like musical notes, and then their relationships, right, how they are combined, are represented by the synthesis relation with the 12 links of dependent origination and 24 kinds of conditional relationships, and then altogether they give us this beautiful music. They explain how everything works. Can? Great. So now we have a much better understanding, much clearer understanding of Abhidhamma, I hope, and you'll be prepared to understand more of Abhidhamma in your third semester when you do the whole course. So let's move to the last part, entering the heart of the Buddha, transforming suffering into peace, joy, and liberation. So here we are taking a look at Master Thich Nhat Hanh's advice, right, on how to apply the 5 aggregates in our daily life. So the 5 aggregates: form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness contain everything, both inside us and outside of us, in nature and in society. So look at this picture. Because of this, go back and take care of ourselves. Our body needs us, right? Our feelings need us. Our perceptions need us. Our suffering needs us to acknowledge it. Go home and be there for all these things. Okay, the 5 aggregates. Body represents 1. Feelings and perceptions represent another 2 mental aggregates, right? So suffering represent personal experience, represent all 5 aggregates. So our suffering needs us to acknowledge it, to recognize it. So go home and be there for all these things. That means for our world of suffering, for our 5 aggregates. Look at our body or form as a river in which every cell is a drop of water. So imagine our body, right? River. Every cell is a drop of water. In every moment, cells are born and cells die. Birth and death support each other. To practice mindfulness of the body, follow our breathing and focus our attention on each part of the body, from the hair on our head to the soles of our feet. Breathe mindfully and embrace each part of the body with mindfulness, smiling to it with recognition and love, compassion and concern. When we finish scanning in this way, we will feel wonderful. So we talk about the 5 aggregates, beginning with the body, right? So come home and be there for the body. How to come home and be there for the body? Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. We can also do the body scan, as we mentioned in an earlier lecture on the Satipatthana Sutta, right? Mindfulness of of the 4 establishments of mindfulness. Benefits of body scanning from the top of the head to the bottom of the feet includes improves concentration, cultivates awareness, power to heal, understand how stress affects our body, and greater capacity to listen to the wisdom of our body. Yeah, be also aware of our body's movements. For example, when we are bending, taking a shower, getting dressed, or working. Practice looking deeply into them, and we will see our body's nature of impermanence, not self, and interbeing, right? Everything is being connected, and we will dwell in freedom. So, as part of the coming home to our body, breathe in, breathe out, do body scan, aware of our bodily movements. Okay, finding our true home. Your body is your first home. Breathing in, I arrived in my body. Breathing out, I am home. Whatever we do, act always in full presence of mind. Be mindful in eating and drinking, in walking or standing, in sleeping or waking, while talking, or while being silent. Yeah. So be aware of our bodily movements. Next, look at our feelings as a river in which every drop of water in that river is a feeling. Observe our feelings and identify each feeling as it flows by, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Recognize each feeling, smile to it, look deeply into it, and embrace it with all our heart. If we continue to look deeply, we will discover the true nature of that feeling, and we're no longer afraid even of a painful feeling. We know we are more than our feelings, and we are able to embrace each feeling and take good care of it. Okay, so after body, second aggregate is feelings come and go like clouds in a windy sky. Conscious breathing is my anchor, right? So when we're aware of our breathing, we can also be aware of our feelings. The feeling that any task is nuisance will soon disappear if it's done in mindfulness. So pleasant feelings, unpleasant feelings, neutral feelings, right? So nuisance will be unpleasant feeling, yeah? Such a feeling would disappear if we are mindful, okay? So we can transform unpleasant feelings into, through the practice of mindfulness, into wholesome aspects. So the third aggregate, perceptions. Look at our perceptions as a river in which every drop of water in that river is a perception. When we perceive, we often distort because our perceptions are conditioned by such afflictions as craving, hatred, and fear. This brings about many painful feelings and we suffer. Understanding this can dissolve our wrong perceptions and liberate us. So this is the third aggregate of perceptions, and perceptions are, in simple terms, ideas and concepts. Okay? I've noticed that people are dealing too much with the negative, with what is wrong. Why not try the other way, to look into the patient and see positive things, to just touch those things and make them bloom? Master Thich Nhat Hanh advises us. Okay? So our ideas, our concepts, very often they are conditioned by unwholesomeness. So if we can try to look at it from another perspective, if we can condition them with wholesomeness, then things will become better, right? Our ideas and concepts will have more meaning. If we do not know how to take care of ourselves and to love ourselves, we cannot take care of the people we love. Loving oneself is the foundation for loving another person. Hence, in order to help others, we must be very aware of ourselves to help ourselves, right? Be very aware of how often we mislead, we misinterpret ideas and concepts, and hence we cannot function effectively in life. So it is important to be mindful of our perceptions, to have the right kind of ideas and concepts, yeah, not to misinterpret, misunderstand them, so that we can function better in life and interact better with all the people in our lives, with all the phenomena, with everything in our life. The fourth aggregate, that's mental formations. So look at our mental formations as a river in which every drop of water in that river is a mental formation. Practice to be aware of our mental formations and to look deeply into them in order to see their true nature. With practice, we are able to nourish and develop wholesome mental formations and transform unwholesome ones. Freedom, non-fear, and peace are the result of this practice. So when we talk about mental formations, yeah, we're talking about habits and attitudes. All right, our daily habits, attitudes, tendencies, and of course this have karmic potential, right? Either wholesome, unwholesome, or neutral. So we must be very mindful of our mental formations, our habits, and attitudes. Whenever anger comes up, take out a mirror and look at ourselves. When we're angry, we're not very beautiful, right? So whenever we're angry, be aware, right, that we are not very beautiful. Anger is like a storm rising up from the bottom of our consciousness. When we feel it coming, turn our focus to our breath. So that's one way of managing anger, right? When we know it's about to come, feel it coming, focus on our breath, let it cool, and then we know what to do. I will not look upon anger as something foreign to me that I have to fight. I have to deal with my anger with care, with love, with tenderness, with non-violence. All right, so this can be a practice of right effort, right? Notice, avoid the unwholesomeness when it comes, like anger. Notice it, and then try to diminish it, and then try to counteract it by having a wholesomeness, right? Focusing on our breath, dealing with it with care, with love, with tenderness, with non-violence, and then maintaining the wholesomeness. Yeah, this is right effort in dealing with unwholesome and transforming them into wholesome qualities. Okay. When we come into contact with the other person, our thoughts and actions should express our mind of compassion, even if that person says and does things that are not easy to accept. We practice in this way until we see clearly that our love is not contingent, does not depend, right, upon the other person being lovable. So instead of having habits, attitudes, and tendency towards unwholesomeness, we should try to build up habits, attitudes, and tendencies towards wholesomeness, such as compassion. So be compassionate to everybody, right? Not just to our loved ones, our friends, but to people, to strangers that we do not know, to people that we do not like, and who are also our enemies. So this Venerable Thupten Zopa Rinpoche, Tibetan monk, right, tells us live with compassion, work with compassion, die with compassion, meditate with compassion, enjoy with compassion. When problems come, experience them with compassion. Okay, so that's the fourth aggregate of mental formation or volition, right? Our habits and attitudes. How to transform them into wholesomeness, such as compassion. Then the fifth aggregate, consciousness, right? Look at our consciousness as a river in which every drop of water in that river is a consciousness. Our consciousness can be transformed at its base through the practice of mindfully guarding our senses and looking deeply. When the afflictions, for example, greed, anger, delusion within us are transformed, our consciousness becomes wisdom, shining near and far, and showing the way to liberation to both individuals and the whole society. We need to wake up from our autopilot mode. Yeah, we have to live deeply and with more awareness so that we can be more attentive to each moment. Okay, So consciousness, be alive every moment, right? Otherwise, our subconscious habits will take over. And then if they are unwholesome habits, that will not be good for us. The quality of our life depends on what seeds we water in our consciousness, right? In our consciousness, there's all kinds of seeds. So water them, water the correct kinds of seeds. In our consciousness, there are many negative seeds and also many positive seeds. The practice is to avoid watering the negative seeds and to identify and water the positive seeds every day, right? Negative means unwholesome, positive means wholesome. Okay? Our capacity to make peace with another person and with the world depends very much on our capacity to make peace with ourselves. So how to have peaceful relationships with other people? We must need to have peace within ourselves, right? So these are the 5 aggregates and the advice that Master Thich Nhat Hanh offers us. Now we must realize that, as we have said earlier on, the 5 aggregates interbeing, right? They must come together. They cannot exist just by themselves. When we have a painful feeling, look into our body perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness to see what has brought about this feeling. If we have a headache, our painful feeling comes from the body. Painful feelings can also come from mental formations or from perceptions. For example, we may think someone hates us when the person actually loves us. All right, so this is an example of how the 5 aggregates always come together, always always interbeing. So when we have a pain, what is the cause of this pain? Is it our headache? Or perhaps it is because of wrong or mistaken perceptions or mental formations, right? Thinking that somebody hates us and then we feel pain when actually that person loves us. So look deeply in the 5 rivers of ourselves and see how each river contains the other 4. Each river of aggregate contains the other 4 aggregates. For example, every cell of our body contains our feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. And cloning is the process of taking one cell of our body and duplicate our whole body. All right? So our capacity to make peace with another person and with the world depends very much on our capacity to make peace with ourselves. So in order to get into peaceful relations with other people, we must be peaceful ourselves. Breath, right, is the bridge which connects life to consciousness, which unites our body to our thoughts. Whenever our mind becomes scattered, use our breath as a means to take hold of our mind again, right? So we talk about the 5 aggregates all being connected, all being interbeing, all being inter-are. So body and mind, consciousness and thoughts, whenever they are scattered, use our breath to bring them together, to unify them again. So be ourselves. Life is precious as it is. All the elements for our happiness are already there. There is no need to run, strive, search, or struggle. Just be. Yeah, like the Buddha also told us, right? Within this body and mind, right? We have everything. We can experience samsara. We can experience nirvana. So life is precious as it is. Be ourselves. All the elements of our happiness are already here. No need to run, strive, search, or struggle. Just be. Okay? It is not, back to our notes, right? It is not the 5 aggregates that make us suffer, but the way we relate to them. That is grasping. When we observe the impermanent, not self and interdependent nature of all life, of all that is, we will not feel aversion for life. This knowing will help us see the preciousness of all life. Yeah. So the main problem with the 5 aggregates is that we grasp onto them, right? The first noble truth. In short, suffering arises because of the 5 aggregates of grasping. Therefore, it is very important that we relearn the art of resting and relaxing instead of grasping, right? Relax and rest. Not only does it prevent the onset of many illnesses that develop through chronic tension and worrying, it allows us to clear our minds, focus, and find creative solutions to problems, Master Thich Nhat Hanh tells us. So each moment is a chance for us to rest, to relax, and to make peace with ourselves and with the world. Easy, isn't it? And so, because of our smile, we make life beautiful. So rest, relax, be peaceful, and smile, right? By smiling, we make life more beautiful for people we interact with, for the people who come across in contact with us. If we see the five aggregates as they are, the self no longer exists. To see the one in the all is to break through the attachment to the false view of self, to be liberated from every form of suffering. It is to become a Buddha, one who lives in peace, joy, and freedom, neither afraid of nor attached to anything. Okay? So, Master Thich Nhat Hanh tells us, true self is non-self, the awareness that the self is made only of non-self elements. There's no separation between self and other, and everything is interconnected. Once we're aware of that, we're no longer caught in the idea that we are a attachment to views is the greatest impediment to the spiritual path, right? Because you have wrong views, views of the self. So for things to reveal themselves to us, we need to be ready to abandon our views about them. Some people say that Buddhist practice is to dissolve the self. They do not understand that there is not self to be dissolved. There's only the notion of self to transcend, right? So do away with all our misinterpretations of self, with our concept of self, just transcend them, yeah? And that will be it. The wave does not need to die to become water. She's already water, right? So yeah, wave is water. Wave does not need to die. Yeah, so we do not need to dissolve the self. Yeah, just let go of the concept of self. And then she is already water. Enlightenment is when a wave realizes it is the ocean. So if you can realize that, like a wave realizing that it is water, that it is the ocean, then we can experience enlightenment, to experience Nibbana, to enter the heart of our Buddhahood, to enter the heart of the Buddha within us. Okay? So that is the gist of today's lecture. Let us next part on homework and reflection 6, submitted by 23rd of November. Yeah, the textbook. Read chapter 12, the 5 aggregates of the 3 enlightenment. And then for Buddhism for beginners, read 2 chapters. Chapter 26, 3 universal characteristics. Chapter 27, personal experience. Watch 2 videos, the 3 marks of existence, 9 minutes, and then the 5 khandhas, or the 5 aggregates, about another 9 minutes. And then the short essay topic. The Buddhist teachings of the 3 universal characteristics and the 5 aggregates imply that people are not important. These are strange doctrines that no other religion teaches. These doctrines are not useful at all in our daily life and in our quest for enlightenment. Do you agree? Why? Present your arguments by discussing Chapter 12, the 5 aggregates of the Tree of Enlightenment, and Chapter 6, 26 to 27 of Buddhism for beginners, and the videos, the 3 marks of existence, and the 5 khandhas, which represent 10% of total course grade. Length of essay, 500 to 700 words in double spacing, state word count, and deadline 23rd of November, email to me. Remember, do not commit plagiarism. Okay, summary for today's lecture. Started off with conceptual understanding, moving on to the physical factor, the aggregate of form, mental factors, the aggregates of feeling, perception, volition, and consciousness. Yeah, consciousness, vijnana, represents the awareness dimension. Feeling, sensations, vedana, represents the emotive, affective dimension. Perceptions or recognition or cognition, sanya, represents the conceptual dimension, and then volition or mental formation, sankhara, represents the moral. Then the 5 aggregates and the 3 universal characteristics of impermanence, suffering, not self, their relationship. Then the 5 aggregates and Abhidhamma, Theravada Abhidhamma, 82 classes of dharmas, 81 conditioned and 1 unconditioned. Out of these 81 classes of conditioned dharmas, you have 3 categories: consciousness, 1 class of dharmas with 89 or 121 modes, types, and then mental states or associates, 52 classes of dharmas, and material form, 28 classes of. Then finally, Master Thich Nhat Hanh's advice on how to apply the 5 aggregates in daily life: body or form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Well, that's it for lecture 11. I hope you enjoyed this lecture and learned something from it. And we will talk again next week. So in the meantime, have a splendid, wonderful week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.